All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. And on this edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast, I have the privilege of being joined by Cal Wonder God. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, William. Thank you for having me on the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Today, I want to shout out the Facebook group of 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast because without them, there is no us.
There you go.
You
There
know what
you
I'm
go.
saying? What's up? Where we at today? What we doing?
Listen, let's just get down and let's get down to basics right here because this is a topic that ain't going away. All right. And that is the end of the line could be coming soon for LeBron James with the Los Angeles Lakers, as he could be on the verge of finding out something that so many professional athletes before him have had to deal with. And that is at some point that you're playing, that the team that you're playing for, they're starting to prepare for a future without you. And I say this because there've been multiple reports recently that are saying that the Lakers gave Luka Doncic an advance notice about the franchise's pending sale, and of course, the sale went through last month from Jeannie Buss to Mark Walter.
Okay.
We recently saw LeBron pick up his player option for the Lakers for next season, a little bit north of 52 million, but you've got to wonder if this is going to be his final season in purple and gold. I mean, he's going to be 41 in December. He's still producing at a high level. We saw LeBron average more than 24 points per game this past season for the Lakers. But realistically, how much can a franchise like the Lakers afford to invest in building around LeBron at this point in his career? Because I mean, you're looking at it, LeBron's 40, Luka's 26. Uh honestly, that's I mean that in some cases that's really a no-brainer as far as where the Lakers want to go for their future.
Well, I'm gonna keep it G. Like I've been telling you, kind of sort of Luca and LeBron's games are similar. Luca's just his points, average, rebounds, assists is just higher than LeBron's.
Mhm.
And I said this 4 years ago, like, yo, we looking at pretty much the same player, but just younger.
Right.
But and Luca don't have the athleticism of a LeBron.
Hmm.
But as far as the control and to be able to make the shots and put the shit away and do what he do, he
Hmm.
got a bag. Luca got a bag. LeBron
Right.
has no bag. He
Right.
never has. So as far as with the Lakers and making the movement, you got to make a move. You got to go back on. Okay, what did you get from LeBron? Uh, the last what is it, 6 years?
Yeah.
What did you get? So you get the 6 7 years. You think about it. Two Western Conference Finals and one chip.
Hmm.
I would say that that's below standards. What do you think
I
for a
mean,
player of that caliber?
listen, you go back, and I know some people are going to call it a bubble chip, this, that, and the third. Bottom line is they won, but
Agreed.
that team was loaded. Okay, that Lakers team was loaded. They had multiple bigs. They had JaVale McGee. They had Dwight Howard. They had Anthony Davis. And I think having a JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard on that team, made life a little bit easier for Ant Davis because he didn't have to do all the work. As a big, you had another ball handler. You had Rondo as well. They had KCP on that team as well. And I'm sure I'm missing some guys. The
No,
point I'm,
that's good.
the point I'm trying to make is this: for the past couple of years, LeBron and AD were combining for to total roughly in that $100 million area combined salary between the two of them. So those two guys really hamstrung what the Lakers pieces wise could put around them. And
Understood.
I think, and at the end of the day, I think it showed. And I think more importantly, it has shown, continue to show in their postseason runs because when you get to the playoffs, regardless of the sport, whatever you can't do shows up. And the Lakers have had a lack of depth, okay, for the longest time.
Right.
I'll tell you like this. I do believe that the Lakers are probably looking at continuing to go forward with LeBron and Anthony Davis. And I think because, back what it's been about 5 months since Luka was traded. So
Right.
let's go back 6 months and say, did anybody really think that Luka Doncic was going to finish the season as a Laker and Anthony Davis in Dallas?
No.
99.99% of the people would have
Negative,
told
K.
you, heck no. All right.
Negative,
So,
K.
right. So when it's all said and done, it was an opportunity that popped up. And, you made a great point a couple of minutes ago where you said, hey, the skill sets between Luca and LeBron are similar. So if you're the Lakers, you're like, you know what? This is a good opportunity for us to start segueing into our future. Okay. And I know
No more.
the Lakers really weren't active. They haven't been active so far this summer, and I don't expect them to be active because it's all about that first and second wave in free agency.
Right.
In the NBA, the Lakers weren't active. You're hearing reports that LA is looking more towards next summer. They've got a lot of money coming off the books next season. Okay, Luca has a player option,
Right.
and I think Austin Reeves has a player option as
He
well.
does. He
And
does.
but like if you take those two player options off the table, I'm not even sure if LA has $15 million committed to player salaries for next season. So they're probably looking at it like, hey, we can give Luca a max. He's not going to get
Right.
the super max that he would have gotten if Dallas hadn't traded him, of course. But he's still going
Right.
to get
Correct.
he's still going to get a max deal. And
Of course.
if you're the Lakers, you're probably looking at it now and saying, let's go out there and maybe bring in another star player that's going to complement Luca. Because at this point, and this is no disrespect to what LeBron has done on the court, LeBron's style doesn't complement Luca. Luca's style doesn't complement
No.
LeBron because, like you said, they basically do the same thing.
They
So,
X each other out.
yeah. So at the end of the day, I think that and the fact that you've got a 26-year-old guy and you've got a 40-year-old guy, I think now LeBron's time in LA is numbered. And this, like I said at the top, it's not going away. Okay. And the closer we get to the start of the season, when like teams report for training camps, you're going to hear more about it. And it's,
Wait, quick question.
yeah,
What was it that Rich Paul said before he opted in, before LeBron opted in? What was it that Rich Paul said?
I
He put
don't,
out a statement, right?
I don't,
Remember?
I don't remember what the statement was.
He put a statement out
Hmm.
like, yo, LeBron is going to look at all his options. It was something to that effect.
Well, I think it's one of those where I think the options are drying up because I think let's just say hypothetically the Lakers put LeBron in the market. There's going to be teams out there who are going to be interested in
Oh,
LeBron.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But I think, LeBron has a no trade clause.
He does. That's why he
And
opted in.
right,
Smart.
right. And on top of that, it has to be a trade that is going to be beneficial to both parties, and meaning the Lakers and LeBron. Jeannie Buss is no longer the owner,
Right.
with the Lakers. That's Mark
She's
Walter,
the, what they calling her, she's like
the
the person
governor,
that
the
makes it work.
governor.
The
She's the
governor.
governor.
Okay.
Okay. And it's one of those where I think because of that, Jeannie Buss is probably going to do quote unquote, she's going to try to do right by LeBron. But at the end of the day, I feel like Mark Walter is probably going to look at this like, hey, I'm doing what's best for business in the business of the Lakers because Mark Walter is not attached at the hip with LeBron because he's not the one who brought him to LA. All right. And it's one of those, listen, you can say what you want. Jeannie Buss has basically let LeBron do what he has wanted to
A
do,
complete freestyle.
you
He's
know,
been doing a freestyle.
since he's been there. It's been a revolving door, with the head coach, bringing in certain players, you know,
We need more people. We don't
you,
believe you.
right, drafting his son Bronny. So I think when it's all said and done, um, it's it's gonna be tough to trade him just due to the fact that everybody's gonna have to be on the same page because I could totally see a scenario where the Lakers find a team that will want LeBron, but LeBron necessarily might not want to go to that team. Okay,
I
and then
think
it
that's
and
fair.
and then at the end of the day, the closer that you would get to the trade deadline, if you're the Lakers, you're starting to lose less leverage because if you keep LeBron, he's just going to leave next season, and you're not going to get anything back from him. At least you would have an opportunity to get something back for him at this point. But at the flip side, if he decided to leave, you'd have an expiring contract on your books as well. So, we gotta wait and see how this plays out, man. But at the end of the day, like I said before, this topic is not going away anytime soon.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt like dude should have probably retired like 4 or 5 years ago.
Hmm.
But of course, if you can still play, why not play? So I'm not gonna knock him from that. But at the end of the day, I can't think of anybody the Lakers drafted since he been there that's still there now.
Well, I mean, you think about it. Even last year, they drafted the kid Dalton Connect, and they basically traded him. Uh, but then the whole thing
They
went down.
rescinded the trade, right?
Right, right,
But my
because
point is this: I can't think of one single piece of player development. This is my issue with the Knicks. We talking about player development. LeBron been there 6, 7 years. There's
hmm
no player there that they drafted first round, second round, just picked them up in free agency. That a young player that they developed that had talent that they developed.
right.
Nobody. You look at SGA and you look at all of them over there in Oklahoma City. You look at the two kids hungry and the other dude. I can't think of his name.
Jalen
Jalen.
Williams.
Right. They made them all stay together and play together, right?
Right, right, right,
And then they won. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So they took their talent and they homeschooled it and
Hmm.
kept it together. And if you can't develop talent here in the NBA, which means you got to let somebody be on the team, you got to let somebody play. I want to hear the Tom Thibodeau, I don't play rookies. How the hell are you going to know what you got if you don't play them?
Right,
And anybody named Precious that's on my team, we got an issue with that.
right.
Precious. No. My point is, they never developed no talent in LA.
Hmm.
So all they did was just change pieces every year, try to revolve it around LeBron to
Right.
see if they could win, knowing they couldn't even win. You know damn well you're not going to win. You know damn well you're not going to win. We know you're not going to win. Y'all just going through it. And then ESPN, who I used to like, all they doing is put everything is LA and Brownie. And
Right.
I think there's a lot of players that need to get the respect, including the world champions and different people that play the game and won, give them their respect.
Well, listen, I'll touch on that, right now because it kind of correlates with what we're talking about because you look at LeBron, like I said, he's 40, he's going to be 41 in December. LeBron, he doesn't have that many more years in the NBA in him. I mean, listen, it's one of those things you can see physically, he clearly is showing that he can still go, but he has more years behind him as far as playing basketball than he does in front of him.
Okay.
And my point is this: with most of those big shows, all throughout the season, all you heard Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron. Okay, three stars, three superstars,
Right.
three, of the 75 greatest players in NBA history.
They
Three,
own the team.
right, three surefire first ballot Hall of Famers, Olympians, multiple time NBA champions, multiple MVPs, you name it.
That's a fact.
Okay, but the thing is, all of those guys, they have more years behind them than they have in
They're in
front of
front of
them.
them. Right.
And you've got to start talking about the next wave. And you look at Oklahoma City, who you talked about. The Thunder won 68 games during the regular season. Okay. And there's not a lot of teams that have won more games in a regular season in NBA history than the Thunder. And it's one of those where that team should have been romanticized. They were hardly talked about by a lot of these big outlets because the focus was on your LeBrons, your Kevin Durant,
Fact.
and
Fact.
so forth. All right. And the thing is like, yo, it's time to give these guys their flowers. Okay, that I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And like
Agree.
OKC, they're your champs, and I guarantee you, going into next season, you know, the focus is going to be more on, you know, what LeBron and the Lakers do, you know, what Steph and the Warriors do, what KD does, you know, now in Houston. But I think, you know, I'm not going to call it a reality check, but I think what it looks like is shaping up to happen in LA with LeBron is something that he's been doing, you know, for a bulk of his career, and that's basically getting people up out of there, whether it was, you know, coaches and teammates. Now, I think you're going to get somebody in LA with Mark Walter, like I said before, who's not attached at the hip with LeBron. And at the end of the day, he's looking at, you know, my future, not just my next year or two. And it's one of those where, again, going back to the Luka trade, LeBron is a box office draw. And
Always.
I've said this before. People and I had this conversation with a good friend of mine. You know, we did a podcast a couple of months ago about who like would be the new face of the NBA. And I know
Okay.
he mentioned Jason Tatum. And I'll tell you exactly right now what I said that time. I said, listen, Jason Tatum's a good player, and this is no disrespect to Jason Tatum, but people would rather watch LeBron watch Jason Tatum play than watch Jason Tatum. So
Right.
when you have a player of that ilk like LeBron, it's tough to replace, you know, that box office draw.
Right.
However, I'm not saying that Luka Doncic is the box office draw that LeBron James is, but Luka Doncic is a box office draw
He
in
is. He is.
his own league.
He
So
is.
if you're the Lakers again and you have that opportunity, you were given that opportunity to segue from a LeBron to a Luka, you're gonna take that ball and run with it.
You got to.
Listen, I liken it to an NFL team that has a Hall of Fame quarterback and they got another one waiting in the wings. You think about where the 49ers were able to get off of Joe Montana because they had Steve Young. You think
Or even
about
the Brett Favre in them too. The
Brett,
Brett
Brett,
Favre move.
Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay as well. And this is a similar scenario because now you've got yourself another player that you're going to build around. And I think for the first time in LeBron's illustrious career, it's made him expendable.
Well, I'm gonna put it to you like this. The one thing I think about is they did not extend you
Hmm.
at all. You had to opt in to keep your no trade clause.
Right.
So to me, that's a red flag in itself right there.
Hmm.
B, they having meetings behind your back. They're going over to the chop house or wherever it was going, doing this and that. They sitting down with Luca and his agent. They're like, yo, Rob Palinka and your man that you was drinking wine with the other day. Now you drinking wine with Freddie Krueger, aka Steve Nash. Y'all doing whatever y'all doing,
Hmm.
and you don't acknowledge DeAndre Ayton at all.
Right.
He never acknowledged them, and I think like we all big enough and old enough to know that when you get pieces to your team, and this is to anybody that ever played sports, when you get on a certain level when you play and y'all all nice, you get a piece you need, and they got their own celebrity in their own situation with what they could do. You gotta kind of give them some respect.
Right.
I ain't really like that. And I
Hmm.
thought it was petty. You know, they put everything else online. LeBron said this to this, he said this, he said that. But you don't, welcome to the Lakers, kid. What up? Let's go. It was none of that. And I think it's a lot going on between him and management
Oh
where
yeah.
I would be surprised. I wouldn't even be surprised if he gets traded before camp come in.
No, listen. I totally agree with everything that you just said because when with you saying that, it sounds like a guy who already has one foot out the door because you think about how the relationship changed with LeBron in Miami, when Pat Riley put his foot down. And, I know that there are a lot of people out there who are going to say Pat Riley needs to step down. The game is past Pat Riley by. Some of that is true. Okay.
A lot of
But
it's true.
but at the end of the day, Pat Riley's still calling the shots in Miami, and you're not going to punk him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And,
Mhm.
you look at the second time in Cleveland, I knew the writing was on the wall that LeBron was going to leave because his last season there, and this was after, they had traded Kyrie to Brooklyn. I mean, no, not to Brooklyn, to Boston. Okay. They got that first round pick, that Boston had from Brooklyn, and that was going to be a lottery pick that year. LeBron wanted them to use that trade midseason to pick up an established player because you remember that's when, the Cavs and the Warriors, they were going at it for 4 straight years
Crazy.
in the finals.
Good basketball.
Right. And Dan Gilbert told LeBron straight up, I will use the pick in part of a trade, but I need you to sign your extension first.
And he
LeBron
wasn't signing an extension.
LeBron refused to do it. And again, if you're Dan Gilbert, you got to do what you feel is best for your organization because, you know, LeBron has left teams in the past and, they've exhausted all of their resources, to put a championship caliber
That's
team
true.
around him.
That's true.
So when he leaves, you're basically starting over from scratch. And I think, it's to the point now, teams don't want to be like, they don't want to be
They
beholden.
don't want to be ravaged.
Right,
Basically,
right.
he's a career killer. For anybody that played with him that was a star, except maybe Kyrie. And who else? Nobody. Who?
Would you say Wade?
Except Kyrie. Who?
Would you say Wade?
No.
Okay.
No. No. Dwayne Wade had to go on tour like he was one of the singers because at the end of the day, Pat Riley do certain things a certain way. And if
Mm-hmm.
he know he can't get his max out of you, he's not gonna put himself in a position where he's gonna sign you to that money, give you what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you leave, everything is in tatters. But
Right.
it still ended up happening, but it happened in a different way with
Mm-hmm.
that organization. But as far as with LeBron, like I feel like if he backs down a bit on how he actually plays the game, I think he could be a bit asset to play with anybody on any team. And that's just my opinion. But you can't have the ball in your hand like that. They got to set you up and find out what makes you good, but you can't have that ball in your hand. Take the ball out of LeBron's hand. He holds
So,
the ball too long, and so does Luca. But I'm
right,
putting my money with Luca.
right. So let's say the Lakers do trade LeBron. Where's the best place do you think that he could be traded to and put that team and like he has a legit chance to get championship number 5 or has a championship window closed for him completely?
Send him to the Clippers, hometown meal. Send him to the Clippers.
Hmm.
They got pieces. They just traded Norman Powell and all of them. I
Right,
don't know if I would have done that, but that
right.
that Norman Powell trade to me, I don't know. I'm gonna just keep it there with that. But
Hmm.
now, honestly, you could send him. He's the type of player that if he wants to, especially at this stage in his career, you're not the featured number one person,
Right, right.
right? I could send him to the Nuggets. I wouldn't send him to Utah.
Hmm.
I wouldn't send him to Atlanta. I could send him to the Knicks. I wouldn't send him to New Jersey. I could send him to Charlotte. Oh wow, Boogie Bang out in Charlotte.
Hmm.
Like there's places you could send him, but at the end of the day, his ego is not going to take a back seat to none of that. What we're talking about. He's
Right.
going to dictate if he gets traded. He's going to dictate where he go.
Oh, definitely. Because I mean, you brought up the Knicks. It wouldn't work because he'd be back with Mike Brown. Now, of course, he was with Mike Brown during that first run with
Yeah, I remember.
with Cleveland. Um, I don't know. I mean, it's like put it like this. They're
Maybe he
like
should retire.
I listen. I don't think he's going to do that because I mean, listen. At the end of the day, there's too much money on the table. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, at the end of the day, LeBron. You know, LeBron is a multimillionaire, but LeBron ain't walking away from $52 million for next season. Okay.
But
Um.
he's a liability. He's a liability to your offense and your defense, bro.
Mhm.
He's a liability both ways right now.
Well, this is the thing, and I've said this before. LeBron, many years ago, LeBron sacrificed his defense for his offense. Okay. And I know a lot of the current players, especially the younger players, they want to criticize the old guys or they might want to say something about the older generations. But nonetheless, the reason why those guys didn't play, you know, 15, 20 years in the NBA is because the wear and tear on their bodies because guess what? They played defense. And
So
playing
what are you saying? Is LeBron doing something unauthorized?
I don't know if he's doing something unauthorized, but the thing is like I'm just saying he stopped playing defense,
It's
in order to focus on offense. Honestly, I feel like LeBron really gave up playing defense after he got that championship with Cleveland back in 2016, and he's just been
I
focusing.
can agree with that. I agree. I agree.
He's been focusing on the offensive end of things. But at the end of the day, the Lakers, I think they're going to do what's best for them. Um,
But
and they're going to try to get something back. And here's the other thing: hypothetically speaking, if you trade for LeBron, you're going to have to take Bronny as well.
it's a package deal, bro. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, because he signed the rookie deal, what is it, 2, 3 years for 7 million or something like that? I forget
Hmm.
what it is. The
Hmm.
bottom line is, uh, you asked for that, you got it. So you know wherever you go, you know your son gonna go with you or whatever the case may be. It's gonna be whatever it is.
Hmm.
I can't deal with sports on that type time.
Hmm.
Like that, not to talk about anything, but the Dion Shador shit was that was a different situation.
Right.
You know, you're playing for your pops, you're
Hmm.
doing what you gotta do, but then you get to go this way. He don't have the power to dictate who should draft you, where you should go, when you should go,
Right.
and where. Um, all I can say is this: the Lakers will not win this year.
Hmm.
Um, let's get ready for football season because at the end of the day, they're trying to keep all of us people that's tuned into what's happening with the NBA and with their moves. I said, let's wait and see what happened August 1st. Because
Hmm.
August 1st, Luca could sign the extension, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Let's see what happened August 1st.
Yeah, listen, I think that's going to be the next domino to fall, and I think LeBron and Rich Paul they're going to try to flex their muscles. Um, to get out of LA, and I think they're going to try to flex their muscles as far as getting him to someplace he wants to be because again, it's a no trade clause, and that
Right.
like that has a lot of that has a lot of stroke, and it's one of those where it's kind of like in baseball when you're a 5 and 10 guy, you can kind of like have the ability to veto a trade and
That's true.
this that and the third, and I
That's true.
mean
That's true.
just changing gears, real quick. There's a lot of professional athletes across the board, across, in different sports leagues who probably don't know the story of Kurt Flood. And Kurt Flood is the reason why, a lot of,
Baseball.
Kurt Flood is the reason why a lot of these guys are
Cleveland
able.
Indians. Cleveland Indians.
St. Louis, he played with St. Louis, and
He played with Cleveland too.
I'm not sure if he played with Cleveland. I think it might have been either Philadelphia or the Washington Senators. You know what
The
I'm saying?
Senators.
Right.
It might, yeah.
Right.
Okay. We
Um,
bro,
but yeah,
that's
nonetheless,
crazy.
having that no trade clause, has has a lot of stroke. But I think I think this is going to be a year transition for the Lakers because again, Mark Walter just bought the team, paid $10
Right.
billion for it. All right. Um, he's going to do things his way. If you move on from LeBron, where does that leave JJ Redick? Because JJ Redick was basically brought in my opinion,
LeBron. He's a
and
product of LeBron.
I said this, okay? JJ Redick was brought in to help orchestrate the LeBron farewell tour. That's all it was because him and LeBron are boys. So where does that leave JJ Redick? Because at the end of the day, JJ Redick's not an NBA head coach. Okay, he's not, and I think it showed up, during the postseason when they lost to Minnesota.
They
So
got swept, right? Wait,
no,
they got swept?
they lost in 5 games.
Five? Oh, it was
Yeah,
five. Oh, my
yeah,
bad.
yeah. They lost in 5.
It was ugly.
Yeah, yeah.
Ant-Man stepped on their head.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that means they're probably going to be looking for another head coach because again, that's the other thing with LeBron. Head coaches don't last that long because he dictates the shots. So I think Mark Walter, he's going to do things a little bit different. And again, like I said before, because of this Luka trade, I think it's made LeBron more expendable. If the Lakers had not gotten Luka from the Mavericks, and we're still talking about them going into next season with LeBron and AD, we're not having this conversation right now. I don't think so.
Factory.
And it's one of those where I think the rug was pulled out from under everybody on that trade because I think when LeBron left Cleveland the last time and he decided to go to LA, I think, you know what, he figured this is the end of the line for me because at that point, if you remember, Magic Johnson was still in the front office with the
They had
Lakers.
operations over
Right,
there. Yeah.
right. And after one year, Magic left, and they got the championship in 2020. He wanted to stay around, because he really wanted to play with his son. He had that opportunity. The Lakers drafted him in the second round last year. He's doing stuff, like film wise with production and stuff like that. And I think, it was going to be like that quote unquote perfect Hollywood ending. But very rarely in sports, whatever the sport is, do we see guys or girls who have that opportunity to have that perfect storybook ending, if you will, as far as they're going away on their terms from their team. Didn't even happen with Michael Jordan. Okay, basically Michael Jordan retired that second time because, Jerry Reinsdorf was on the verge of like blowing things up because, he couldn't get along with Phil Jackson. Mike left, came back and finished up, with the Wizards, after a couple of years off and stuff like that. It very rarely happens. All right. And, at the end of the day, I think LeBron's going to find that out the hard way. And, again, we've seen LeBron bump heads as far as like, power struggles. It happened, in Miami, and it's happening in Los Angeles right now. And I think the biggest difference is Mark Walter is not attached at the hip with LeBron.
Agreed. And on the end note, what I
Mm-hmm.
will say is I'm really waiting for August 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they extend Luca, to me, if you're trying to back up your assets, you gotta extend LeBron if he's part of that future. If he's
Mm-hmm.
not part of that future and you don't extend him, then guess what? You gotta ship him out and do that shit because that whole shit with just them two dynamics I just mentioned
Mm-hmm.
is a recipe for disaster all season long. So you'll be worried about if they're gonna trade him before the All-Star break or during the All-Star break, but that's not gonna match. And especially if they're not playing well and they
Right.
don't got the players to play on a certain type of level. And again, they both are ball dominant players,
Right.
both of them. And
Listen,
Austin Reeves hold it down too. He kind of ball dominant in a way, but like how's all that supposed to work?
listen, it won't. And the thing is, it's like, especially, you look at the dynamics of the Western Conference, this like going into next season, the Nuggets, are, going to once again be a contender. I said it when it happened, and I said people are not talking enough about the Nuggets getting Cam Johnson from the Brooklyn Nets. That right
Oh, that
there,
was great. Cam shoot every time
yeah,
though. Every
right,
time he gonna
right,
be 30,
right.
25,
So,
30.
so you got the Nuggets. You still got Oklahoma City. All right. And Oklahoma City, they just gave all those young guys max
Locked
contracts.
him up.
They could
They
they
locked him up for the next 4 or 5 years.
yeah,
Locked him up.
they basically committed more than $800 million to those three guys.
They did.
They're
They did.
they're bringing back the same team. Houston, the Rockets look like they've got something well, they had something last year, but now they picked up Kevin Durant. Okay, so they're in that mix as well. Um, You still got Minnesota, a Minnesota team who I'm not even going to say that they beat LA a couple of months ago in the playoffs. They punked them.
They
Okay.
abused them.
Yeah. So
Ant-Man abused them.
right there, that's four contenders that we're talking about. The LA's got to deal with, and I feel like right off the bat, those teams are better than LA. And
I agree.
I haven't even talked about some of the other teams in the West. So at the end of the day, the way that the Lakers are constructed right now, even with Luka and LeBron, maybe they can get a playoff series. That's about it. That's about it. And I think at the end of the day, like I said before, if you're LA, it's time to look, for your future. And if you're LeBron, your future is not in LA. Okay. And I said this before a couple of years ago about LeBron. I said after, they got that last championship in 2020, his focus was no more on winning. It was about, getting his stats, getting his record. And again, the way that the salary cap, has been structured for the most part, it's either you want to get paid or you want to win. And again, it's tough when you got just two guys accounting for $100 million in salary to try to go out there and put a championship team around those guys. All right, and I think especially now with this additional tax apron, that's going to be a game changer right there. So, we've already seen it so far this summer. Just look at the Boston Celtics. But nonetheless, I think the tide is shifting there, with the Lakers.
I think it's a done deal. You got
Hmm.
to remember, LeBron, in order for him to be effective, he has to have the basketball in his hand.
Hmm.
Same thing for Luca.
Right.
But I like Luca. I think Luca, he's more effective than LeBron is with the ball
Mm.
right now.
Right.
All right, Luca still averaged 30 a game, even though he didn't make to a certain level for that to get kicked in before he could get the supermax. Right.
Hmm.
Right. So for me, when you got somebody that play on that level,
Hmm.
and that's that young, like I really think that if LeBron was to like like lower down his role on any team, I think he would be an asset to any team. This is just me knowing basketball and being like for real. Like I'm not gonna bullshit. Like the dude is like he still could do it.
Hmm.
And nobody's never gonna catch that record.
No.
Unless you play CU50, you're not gonna catch that record.
Nah.
So at the
Listen.
end of the day, let's get, I don't think I'll be allowed to see somebody break that record. I don't think so. But my point is, he's still an asset to any team, any organization. He's an automatic draw.
Hmm.
So the Lakers, haven't been sold for 10 billion. They're gonna raise them ticket prices. So whatever's going on over there is gonna ratchet up like 10 notches. But I will say this, and I'm gonna end it on this note: they're not gonna win, no matter what they do.
They're not gonna win. Listen, they're gonna make their money regardless because it's LA and it's the Lakers. And then on top of that, the Lakers are always gonna be a box office draw. But, you still Luka's not LeBron, like I said before, but Luka still has star appeal. And I guarantee you that as soon as Luka got traded to the Lakers, and especially once this sale went through, I guarantee you Mark Walter and his team were already going through their heads. How can we market this guy and make more money off of him? Because I like the dollar signs are out there because now you have the ability and you have the potential
Right.
to work with Luca for like the next decade. Okay, so that's going to be their centerpiece going forward. But one final question to you:
Okay.
how do you see this scenario ending for both LeBron and the Lakers?
He got to go. And if you're gonna get something for him, get something for him now.
Hmm.
Don't wait and mess up the team chemistry. If they get together and they get on a certain type of time, you know it's trade time coming, and just mess up the whole thing. I would get rid
Right.
of him now.
Right.
You know what I'm
No,
saying? That's just my thing.
no. Listen, I definitely agree. I think this is going to be a transition year for the Lakers. I think we're going to see this is going to become more of Luca's team, and they're going to take it from there. it's not a Shaq Kobe type scenario because people remember
Not even close.
when Shaq got traded, Kobe was really serious about flirting with going to sign with the Clippers until he got his extension. Okay, and then clearly, it became Kobe's team. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be Luka's team. And I think we're gonna the Lakers. A year or so from now, they're definitely going to have a different look. I think LeBron finishes his career someplace else. I don't think he walks away from
I
it,
believe you too.
right now. And I think he's probably going to want to go someplace where he feels like he's going to have an opportunity to win that fifth championship. I'm not sure if it's going to work out. I feel like LeBron's best chance to, win more championships because he has four, and that right there is nothing to sneeze at because there's not a lot of guys who have won, as many championships. But the thing is, you
But you
go
got to remember this too.
hmm
With three different teams,
with
so
with
you got to give him his props.
nah. Listen, with three different teams, definitely don't like. Only thing I was gonna say was that Golden State and San Antonio kind of rained on that parade during the decade of the 2010s because that was
It
it,
was
it was
good basketball, bro.
right. It was shaping up to be like the decade of LeBron, and then of course you could throw Dallas, in there as well. But I truly do think he's probably going to try to go and position himself maybe to try to go out there and be on a team that's going to win championship number five. It's going to be easier said than done because I think at this point, like you said before, LeBron's got to check his ego.
That's
So,
it.
and will he be able to do that? That's the other key because I don't think at this state of the game that a lot of teams there will be some, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be willing to let him dictate to them.
Run wild.
Right.
No,
hmm
it's not going to be none of that because, again, like you said earlier, and I'm not going to keep saying it, he's a box drawer no matter where he goes.
Right.
Anytime he picks up the basketball, he's on the clock. More
hmm
points, more points, more
hmm
points,
Yeah.
more points. More records, more records, more records. But are you winning?
Yeah. That's
No.
that. That's going to be the other thing. So, like I said, there's layers to it, as far as trying to get this thing to work. And the only thing I can say is stay tuned, man. That's it,
There we go.
you
That's what's
know.
up.
But that's going to wrap it up for this edition of 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. And Cal, I didn't want to touch on this at first, but I'm going to touch on it is now, right now. You know, we always have sports, memorabilia, in our backgrounds. And now we're coming at it from opposite ends of the spectrum. You're wearing a Yankee hat and I'm wearing an Oriole hat on this one. Two long time American League East rivals that go back, decades. But nonetheless, as always, Cal, it's much appreciated, and I definitely appreciate
Thank
you
you.
have
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate you
definitely appreciate you having me, or like appreciate you coming on here with me, rather, should I say?
all day.
And folks,
Anytime, brother.
if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, you can check me out on the X, formerly known as Twitter. You can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports. You give me that follow, I'll give you that follow right back. And the same goes for Instagram at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, you can check both myself and Cal out on the Sports Depot 365. As far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating groups going on social media. And you can also check out Cal Wonder God at Citywide Sports as well, also on Facebook. So for Cal Wonder God, my name is William Martin.
Very.
I'm signing off and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.